In this video, we're going to talk about the event editor and how we can customize it. First of all, what is the event editor? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Whenever you right-click on an event, you do see this option to edit event. When you click that, the event editor appears. Likewise, you could also double-click on an event in order to show the event editor. Now, by default, the event editor has several different fields available. It has the name field, the resource field, and the start and end fields. But of course, we can customize this to our heart's content. How would you go about doing this in the code? Well, let's take a look. In an app.view file, I have the Bryntum Scheduler component imported from the library, and it's being used down in the template with a config bound to it. Now, in this config are some events and resources and a few other different configuration options pre-populated for us, but let's take a look at which option we need to provide in order to configure the event editor. This configuration option is called Event Edit Feature. One of the simplest things we can do with the event editor is turn it off. Now, back over in the browser, when I double-click on an event, sure enough, nothing happens. And the option is no longer in the context menu as well. This is View though, so if we wanted to dynamically update this value, we could do that. To demonstrate, over in the Vue.js DevTools, we'll find Event Edit Feature within the configuration object, and then let's edit that from disabled true to disabled false. This time when I double-click, sure enough, the event editor displays just fine. It's important to note that if you're doing this in the code, or even within the DevTools, you have to be sure to reset the entire object. If you simply toggle disabled to true or false or anything nested inside of that event edit feature, it would not work. Awesome. So what else can we do to customize this event editor? Well, just like all the items in the scheduler's context menus, the widgets and the buttons in the event editor can also be customized, added, or removed. Now, by default, the editor comes with the widgets and the buttons described in this documentation page. You can find it under Guides, Customization, and Customize the Event Editor. Under the heading Customizing Child Widgets, you can see all of the different widgets that are available, and under Customizing the Default Buttons, you can see the different buttons you can target to remove or customize as you see fit. Let's try removing a button. According to this documentation here, all we have to do is target editor config, bbar, items, and then delete button. I'm going to copy that and let's give it a try. Awesome. This time there is only a save and cancel button at the bottom of the event editor. The delete button is gone. Besides removing buttons, we could also remove fields as well. That's not done with the editor config, however. That's done by targeting items and then the fields you want to remove. We can take a look at the available default fields back in this documentation once again. Let's try removing the start time field and maybe the end time field. We can use the null keyword here to disable them. Cool. Notice start and end are now only date fields and don't include the time fields that previously were at the end of these two widgets. Next, instead of removing a widget or a field altogether, sometimes it makes more sense to customize some of its properties. Let's take the name field as an example. Let's say we wanted to change the label over here from name to title. Well, we can do that just under items as well, but this time instead of providing null, now we'll target the proper widget and then add a new property called label. Now we have title instead of name. We're also able to move widgets up and down in order with the weight property. Wondering what all properties are available for you to customize? Well, depending on what kind of field the widget displays, you can view the various properties in the API documentation. That's found under API Docs, Core, Widget, and then you can look for any of the fields down here. Some of the most common ones are the text field, the number field, and the date field. Many times, customizing the default widgets will be enough for your needs. Sometimes, though, you'll need a whole new widget that isn't provided out of the box. For instance, maybe you'd like a way to add notes to each event. We could do that much like customizing an existing field. Now, it's important to make sure that your event model has the field for this to link up to correctly. In other words, I should have a note property on all of the different events within my configuration here. I can do that quickly with my IDE's multi-cursor functionality. Perfect. Finally, if you need to customize which widgets display dynamically per event, that is, you have different widgets on different events, then you can use the Before Event Edit Show event listener. This gives you access to the editor instance where you can target and modify properties of specific widgets. And then you also have access to the event record so that you can check the current event data and customize your widgets accordingly. Just as an example, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I could show the notes field for all events except for those with the name of right-click me. First, I'll get the note field off the editor, and then we'll check the data on the event record to see if its name is right-click me. By the way, you could access any of the other event properties here as well, such as the event's start date, end date, and so on. Finally, if it is, then we'll set the hidden property on the note field to true. Awesome. Back over in the browser, if I double click on a sports event, we do indeed have the notes field displayed in the event editor. However, if I double click on the right click me event, the note field is nowhere to be found. In conclusion, the event editor comes with sensible defaults and is simple to customize while still being flexible enough to fit your exact needs.